the things I said I'd talk about is, and we talked about before yesterday, was that I shave my head and now have a goatee. I used to have a beard all over the place. And a lot of people who have my new look say, well, what's going on here, Nehemia? We have this commandment in Leviticus, and the way the rabbis teach it is you're not allowed to shave your beard. And actually, and I used to observe this, so I'm kind of mocking it, but this is, I didn't know any better.
Right.
What they teach is that you're allowed to shave your beard with an electric razor, but not with a shaver.
Yes.
Because an electric
explain
razor
why.
It's a bunch of little scissors.
Yes.
That's what they explain. And I forget the exact type, but you're allowed to use Remington, you're not allowed to use Norelco, or vice versa, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say that with a straight face. This is what I was taught growing up, that you're allowed to use Norelco and not Remington, or whichever one it was. But anyway, about a little over 10 years ago, I sat down and I studied this, and I tried to figure out what is God actually commanding us here in Leviticus.
Right.
And what I realized is there's 4 commandments in the same passage, actually in a 2-verse section over in Leviticus, and I believe it's Leviticus 19. And what those are essentially 4 mourning practices. If you look in the context of the Bible, there are 4 things that people did in the mourning. They would rip the hair out of their heads. They would rip out the hair from their beards.
Yeah.
They would gash themselves, cut themselves, and they would tattoo the name of the dead person on themselves.
Yes.
And what the Torah is telling us is
don't do
observe
that.
those 4 mourning practices for the dead. And it actually says for the dead at the end of that passage.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Which I'd read 1,000 times and somehow never noticed because I was concerned if I'm using Remington or Norelco.
Right. Thou shalt print no marks in thy flesh for the dead.
Yeah, so it asks me, what's the cultural context here? And the cultural context is to rip out your hair for the dead. And there's actually certain purification practices where people are commanded to shave their head.
Yes.
And they're commanded to shave their beard.
Right.
So why would God command us to do something that's otherwise forbidden? That doesn't make any sense.
We have people that are absolutely in who have come to a faith in God, and they look at their body and they see tattoos on there that they put on, in years prior, and they weep, and they feel terrible about this, and they say, what should I do? Should I have these tattoos removed? Because the Bible is just explicit, and I think, how explicit is it?
It's explicit, but you have to understand it in its context.
Right.
And otherwise, you end up, doing strange things like not eating cheeseburgers because that's what some rabbi told you, but not the historical context of what it's commanding. And there's actually a verse in Isaiah 44 where if you say tattoo is forbidden, the verse doesn't make any sense. It's Isaiah 44, verse 5, and it's one shall say, for Yehovah, and this one shall write, or this one will be called in the name of Jacob, and this shall write on his hand for Yehovah. In the name of Israel he should be called. So it's talking in the end times prophecy in Isaiah 44, and it's saying people are going to tattoo the name Yehovah on their hand.
Wow.
And the idea there is that their slaves would write the name of the master on their hand. It's saying we are going to be slaves of Yehovah.
Yes.
We're going to write. He's going to be the only master we have.
Yeah.
And I can understand why that makes lots of people uncomfortable because they want to be our masters.
Well, sure. Yeah.
But that prophecy makes no sense if you understand Leviticus 19 is saying, well, you're not allowed to have any kind of tattoo. Now, look, there are types of tattoos that I wouldn't want to have. I don't have any tattoos, but I would think would be forbidden, even not because they're tattoos, but there's all kinds of pagan symbols people will tattoo on themselves, and all kinds of how do I put it delicately? Things of questionable moral character people tattoo on themselves. So that I would recommend avoiding.
Right.
But to say we're forbidden to have any kind of tattoo, that's not how I'm. That requires a certain, I think, preconception when you're reading the commandment.
Well, there's many things that are not necessarily sin that are dumb. Don't do that.
And I'm not saying go put a bunch of. There was this girl in England who had tattoo artists put stars black stars all over her face.
Right. Oh
and
my
she
goodness.
fell, and she told when she went home, her father started beating her, and she said, "Oh no, I fell asleep, and he did it without my permission." And they actually arrested the poor tattoo guy, until finally she confessed. But, there is just something that's stupid to do. I don't know why you want to do that.
Right.
But to say that, it's forbidden to have any kind of tattoos, everything that's permissible is a good idea. If you look strictly speaking according to Scripture, it's permissible to eat hemlock because, which is a plant that grows, because it's a green herb. Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you should eat everything that's a green herb.
Right.
That's right. Think of another green herb that's definitely a bad idea to eat.
Yeah.